Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of TFT Hyperroll from Mission for Tuition. Please interact with the video, like, comment, subscribe, do all of the stuff to help the YouTube algorithm so that they actually show the video to people, because sometimes they don't. That isn't fun, because this channel is about raising money for our son's high school tuition. He needs to go to a special school, but with that said, let's just get started. The day before this season released, I put out a video that gave you a small breakdown of a bunch of builds I thought could get you to Hyper. Now, my last video was a build I've discovered along the way, and I kind of showed you how I discovered it. But I want to go back to giving a more detailed breakdown of those builds that I showcased in that first video. Now, in my superstitious little world, I like to do stuff like this where I put out 2 Heimers in the hopes that I can attract exactly what I'm looking for. And maybe it was the hand of Gary, but I got a Ryze and a Lulu, so I'm good to go. I could either go blue battery or for the guild upgrade. And I decided to go with the guild upgrade, even though the blue battery would be absolutely fantastic for Ryze. I felt helping the overall team was a better idea. The important thing is going to be making sure that each guild champion has some type of item on them, so I'm going to put the tier onto Ryze immediately, and then just go hunting for the best team I can make right now while using nomsy as my tank. My goal is going to be to get to likely 5 mages if I can get there, and then as many guild champions as I can fit in along with my trainers. That will make everything as strong as possible, and I'm actually surprised to get an early win without a real tank involved. With these items choices, it's going to be pretty easy for me. I want that tier of the goddess. That's going to go directly onto Ryze and make a blue buff, because Ryze's power increases the more he casts, and this will allow him to cast early and often. In fact, let's go over Ryze real quick. He throws 1 arcane orb that does a percentage of his mana. Then the next time his mana is going to increase, and he's going to throw 2 orbs. The next time 3 with higher mana, and it just gets more powerful as it goes along. The long-term strategy of a build like this is to keep Ryze alive, because the later in the match it gets, the stronger he gets. It's kind of a lot like League. When Ryze lasts a long time and it's late game, he's going to take over. But again, we're kind of winning when I didn't think I would be. My general strategy with any trainer build is to build nomsy up as fast as possible. So I go ahead and put in the 3rd trainer so that nomsy will get more snacks, even though I know this is probably going to lead to a loss. But we're only losing 2 at this point, so I'm willing to accept it in return for a stronger nomsy later on. I'm a little torn here because the champion duplicator can be really good for getting Ryze to the next level, but the ability to put a Rabadon's death cap onto Ryze and give him more power, well, I just couldn't resist it. Again, this is about ultimately keeping him alive longer and making him powerful. Since Heimer already fed snacks to nomsy this round, I decide to go ahead and put in Sejuani just to get the extra guild buff and keep Ryze strong and hopefully win. And again, it's early, so suffering a loss right now wouldn't be the worst thing, but since it was only going to be basically 2 snacks that nomsy was going to miss out on at the start of the next round, I can bring Heimer right back in, and this will keep me more towards the top of the health charts, because Ryze is going to be able to dominate this board. We get to the next set of augments, and there's one I have not seen before, Last Stand, which it basically says if you would be eliminated from the game, you get back 1 health, and each of your champions get 200 health, 20 magic resist, 20 armor, and 20% omnivamp. If you want to get into the top 4, this seems like a really, really strong augment to get, but it isn't going to have any immediate benefits. I decide to go ahead and try it out with this comp and read it over a couple of times, because again, this is the first time I've seen this. Now, in this moment, I have to be honest and say I was afraid I had taken sort of a sucker's augment, because it was not going to help my team right now. It was really for late game, but if I lose too much now, late game isn't gonna matter. And as the game is continuing, I'm afraid I skunked it pretty badly. Not getting that duplicator early on is going to make it really hard to get a 2-star Ryze because I haven't seen another one yet, and having an augment that isn't going to help me until the very end, well, I'm a little afraid the end's gonna come sooner than I expected. And I'm realizing very quickly that the good thing with Last Stand is that if you can get it in stage 9, it's going to affect all 9 of your champions. But if it happens in stage, say, 7 or 8, it's not going to impact all of your champions. So I need to stop losing, and soon. For the final augment, I am going to grab Thrill of the Hunt. It's one of my favorites because, especially with Ryze, he has the ability to just knock people out, and if he can keep getting his health back, every time he knocks someone out, he can stay up and keep casting. I add Twitch onto the board just to increase the number of guilds so that we get a higher bonus going forward. I'm rolling, trying to find more Ryzes. Again, right now I'm wishing I had kept that champion duplicator, but luckily there are a couple. I have my 2-star Ryze and I feel better going forward. Now try to keep your eyes on Ryze in this fight. He is doing a lot of damage every time he casts, and that also is giving him 700 health back each time he kills something. Since Mage is active, he's casting twice every time, which means he's pretty much killing everything on the board and getting lots of health back. But still, heading into the Treasure Dragon, my most important item that I'm looking for is a sword. There's one on the very first board, so I take it, and that's because I want to make the Hextech Gunblade on Ryze so he can heal other members of the team while he's casting. Again, it's also still Omnivamp, so even his basic attacks will help. Since Twitch is on the board and he's doing damage, I can go ahead and give him the Infinity Edge and a Hand of Justice just to keep him strong. I went ahead and gave the other blue buff to Lilia since she is getting Cavalier bonus from Sejuani. Normally I would have brought in Nami for this. She is on the bench as a 2-star, but I don't really need her right now. See how much healing is going out from and to Ryze each time he kills something, and we're able to eliminate a player. I'll go ahead and save you the NPC battle, but we got a bunch of items including a Rabadon's, Warmogs, and a Gargoyle's Stone Plate. I tank up Sejuani as much as possible just to make her really strong, and give Nami the Rabadon's Death Cap and the Jeweled Gauntlet just so her casting is more powerful. Now there are 2 ways to go with this build. You can lean more into guild and stay at 3 mages, or if you think that Ryze is going to be able to get up to 3 stars gold, then I like to lean into getting to the 5 mages. This is why I've brought Nami in. I've got a lot of Ryzes on the bench, and you can see just how strong he is even at 2 stars. This, however, is a weak spot for this build because you don't have the 5 mages yet, so their cast power is still being reduced to 75% instead of its full 100. So you are a little bit susceptible if you don't get enough kills. Here we get totally overwhelmed and, well, destroyed. And even though that was a loss, it was enough to bring me into the top 4. And remember, I still have Last Stand to protect me in case I die. After some NPC items and a bunch of rolling, I am ultimately able to find the Ryze I'm looking for because I did end up getting a champion duplicator. I now also have my 5 mages, so I'm pretty hopeful for the future. And while being hopeful is nice, reality can sometimes be a little bit different. I expected to be able to get through this team, but they were also able to just plow into me, get into the backline, finish off my Ryze, and finish me off. But luckily, I have Last Stand, so I get to survive with 1 health and continue forward with all 9 of my champions getting a boost to their health, their magic resist, their armor, and they're now all also going to get Omnivamp. That's why they're all glowing. I also decided to go ahead and make a swap and bring in Bard instead of Twitch as my 3rd guild member. He's going to allow us to gain mana faster, plus also get more 5s as he picks up more chimes. That's of course presuming we actually are able to win this next fight. And before anyone points it out, yes, I should have reforged the items on Bard. Those are not really good Bard items. I just wanted to get him into the match. I'm glad he throws his little circle where he does, because it stems the bleeding long enough for Ryze to power up, and ultimately finish off that nasty dragon in the corner that can wipe out an entire team. And this is kind of a showcase in why people have asked me how to deal with Ryze, and there really is no one answer. If you can't get him stunned, he is going to power up and be able to take out multiple players. You watch here, both of their tanks get wiped by Ryze, who goes back to full health because of Thrill of the Hunt. Then it's just a matter of walking into their backline and finishing everyone off. Normally I don't speed up the fights towards the end, but we're facing someone with really high health, and it's going to take a long time to get through them. This is not a one and done kind of thing. But again, you can see how strong Ryze is once he gets powered up. And now we have to face off against the team that has an Ao Shin with a Mage hat and a Spear of Sojin. Those are not necessarily the best items to have on that particular dragon, but you will see he still does a absolute ton of damage and nearly wipes the team. If it wasn't for our Omnivamp, I don't know if we would have survived it. But luckily, we get through it, and it's now a 1v1. Now, I want to lead you into this. Notice I have the potential to get a 2-star Bard, but I have not locked it. The reason I haven't locked it is my opponent has 6 health, I have 1 health, so this is sudden death. One of us is going to win, one of us is going to lose, and the game is going to be over because you lose 6 health in this round. So I'm a little stressed. I definitely want to win it. I think I have a really good chance. It looks really good. Ryze is starting to power up and take over, and yep, we're gonna wipe them out. They say GG, I say GG, and we're ready to be done. But there's no victory screen. We're on to the next item. What happened? When I watched back the video thinking I must have read their health wrong, I then saw, as the match was going on, their health suddenly ticked from 6 to 8. Now, I made the mistake of posting on Reddit to ask the question of, did I not read something properly? Did I miss something? Why did that happen? How are they still alive? And I think this player was as confused as I was. What neither of us knew is that Soraka heals the player as well as the champions on the board. And while it's just a token amount of 2, which in regular TFT doesn't mean much, in Hyper Roll, that is a significant percentage of your health. So we lived to fight another day, and I had another round of stress. Although I was fairly confident that I could pull it off, when Ornn ultimately stunned Ryze, I was a little concerned because I feel that's the best way to get to Ryze. But once he powered up and Bard was able to stun their team, again, you can see the Thrill of the Hunt take over and lead to the actual GG and the final victory. Hope you enjoyed this video and have an absolutely awesome day. And P.S. don't post questions on Reddit. They don't always answer very nicely.